Okay. Hi.
Hello, hello.
We are here. What are we doing?
What are
What
we
are we
doing?
doing here?
Well, my name is Eric Good, co-founder of the Wounded Healers Network.
And I am Jules, co-founder of the Wounded Healers Network. What is the Wounded Healers Network?
It's a great question. For me, the Wounded Healers Network it's been a dream for a long time. It didn't always start out in the direction that we're headed, I think. But it's always been the dream to have something for people who need help, who need a place to start. I think it's always been important for me because when I began my healing journey, I had no idea where to go. No idea where to start, no idea who to go to, who was right, who was wrong,
Right,
whatever, you know.
Either no guidance or too much and
Yeah.
no direction.
Too much information, and then you start going down weird paths, no structure, and then you're just stuck not really doing the work. So I think that's really what I wanted, was not a here's steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, but here's the starting point.
Right.
And here's some tools to help you start to figure it out for yourself.
Right, because there's this point where you recognize there is turmoil. You recognize something needs to change, and almost not having a direction for that next step, knowing that you want to create that change, but not knowing where to begin.
Exactly.
I resonate. When you came to me about 6 months ago, right, and you offered this opportunity to come to Chicago and support a mission, My Child's Life Matters, and I did the research, and it resonated so wholeheartedly, and we had only worked together, we passed by during work, and there was just an energy and a similarity in values.
Absolutely.
And in our journey, and how we were at this point where we were trying to identify what our own spiritual path or journey was going to look like. Not on this big existential, you have to choose one thing and follow it. It was what has worked for us, right?
Exactly.
And what do we want to show others about our healing journey in terms of taking all those pieces and really finding what resonates.
Exactly, and I think that's always been important to me, and why I came out here to help out with My Child's Life Matters was they have their mission, but they know that there's not just one way to go about it and to do it, and they wanted help, and I needed a mission, and as far as that goes, we could talk about Rob and and all of that.
It's an important part of our story and how we ended up here, so we want to share that with you too.
Absolutely. What is the Wounded Healer?
Okay, wow. So the Wounded Healer for me was an 15-year journey. It was a climb up and it was a fall down, and it was a climb up and it was a fall down. I think a big part of recognizing the wounded healer is holding a lot of aspects of yourself, that being, I am wounded. Not necessarily a victim of circumstance, more just being able to hold that the experiences in your life, or in this case in my life, hurt. It hurt the child, the young, free, pure child that I was, and it changed me. I used the analogy of, after a car accident I was in, that all the pieces of me shattered and fell apart, and it was about putting those pieces back together. And sometimes I put them back a little jagged, and they were sharp, and they hurt the people around me, or they hurt me. And it was the experiences during the last 15 years of what we would call healing. Like, I look back at that little girl, and I'm like, whew, she be hurting. And I would not say now I am this like whole, healed, beautiful being. I think being the wounded healer is recognizing and always holding that wounded one within, and always
Absolutely.
acknowledging every step that led you to this beautiful whole, feeling really good in this moment
Yep.
healer, like recognizing that wounded healer within, but it's about holding all the aspects of your being. And I think that is what makes one a wounded healer.
Exactly. It's understanding that, yeah, we all are the wounded one. And taking it from that perspective, you learn to have compassion with yourself and compassion for others, empathy for yourself, empathy for others. And you're able to start to find ways to heal yourself in a more patient and understanding way. So you're able to also help others on their own healing journey in a way that you're not telling them do this, do this, do that, and getting frustrated with them because they're not. You're able to say, hey, I understand where your pain is at, you know, and why you're in pain, or maybe not even why you're in pain, just that you're in pain. And how can I be a guide for you on your healing journey? And I think that's why, you know, we're not calling ourselves wounded healers. We're the Wounded Healers Network because we are all our own healers, but we're going by Wounded Guides because we're here to guide you on your own journey to be your own wounded healer.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So we're talking about this idea of the wounded one, and then the wounded healer, and we call this the Wounded Healer's Journey, and it's a 12-week program that helps you be guided to this wounded healer stage. But can you tell me, like, explain a little more about what the wounded one is and how that progression to the wounded healer?
Absolutely. So we came up with the concept of the wounded healer and the stages based off the verse from the Tao Te Ching. I want to say it's verse 38, but don't quote me on that off the top of my head right now. And it's when the Tao is lost, there is goodness. When goodness is lost, there's morality. When morality is lost, there is ritual. Ritual is the husk of true faith, the beginning of chaos. And that's why week 1 is all about chaos and understanding that wounded one within us and what is chaos and how, not only what is chaos, but how when we get to this state of wanting to change something, that's realizing that we are in chaos, the state of unbalance or imbalance, and that something has to change. And that's what the wounded one stage is about, is realizing that I'm in a state of chaos. What can I do to start getting myself out? And that's where the phases go. Is, you know, it's, if that verse is going down, Tao, goodness, morality, ritual, chaos, then it's also goes back up.
It's the downward path and it's the upward path.
Exactly. So chaos, well, then we need ritual to get ourselves out of chaos. And that's what these first stages of the wounded one, of you spending time figuring out a ritual or routine that best fits you. So all we're doing is providing tools to help you figure out what can help me stay in balance. What can I do? What are little things that I can just change about my morning routine, my night routine, whatever it is. Maybe it's my diet, maybe whatever it is that's keeping you in chaos, because everyone's chaos is different. You know, for me, many years ago when I started this journey, my chaos was I was doing drugs and having sex with, doing all sorts of crazy shit that I didn't want to do, you know, and and so I had to figure out what can I do to get myself in balance? And that's where we all have to start, is figuring out what is the thing about me specifically that's keeping me in chaos, and what do I need to change, and what are tools that I can use to help me stay on the path that I want to be on.
And that's what brings you almost to that wounded seeker phase. So I hear you talking about the wounded one being this like opportunity to acknowledge and accept where you're at. It's really easy to be in chaos and want to rear against it and be like, this isn't happening, stay away, this is bad. And there's another aspect of of healing and recovery that's almost necessary in order to create change, I think, and that is holding and accepting and acknowledging where you are. Yes, right, like acknowledging is important. I'm unbalanced. My actions are impacting me and the people around me, and I see it hurting me and the people around me, and I see that I want to change. That's acknowledging, right? And then there's this aspect of accepting. Accepting and holding yourself and being compassionate towards yourself that the experiences in your life have brought you to where you are in that moment, this moment of chaos, this moment of imbalance. And that's the wounded one. And that is why that's our first stage, because seeking those tools is really hard to do if you don't know what the wounded one is asking for.
Yep.
What the imbalance is, and then the seeker is about, like you said, us guiding you with these tools, what multiple avenues of things to try and explore and reflect on.
Exactly.
In the seeker stage, we're really reflecting on what is resonating, what is not hitting home. I mean,
Yep.
Our journeys are very separate, very different, and some things hit and some things didn't. Some things were really powerful for a period of time in our lives.
Yep.
That it taught us what we needed in that moment.
Exactly.
And I do think that part of this seeking phase and then turning into this ability to alchemize what you have figured out works for you.
Yep.
Is just like so profound.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's when you start to really be able to understand, like you said, the next phase, the wounded alchemist, after the seeker, is when you really start to understand the why and how you got there in the first place, and then use the tools you've learned in the seeker phase to help heal those wounds. You know, the ritual and routine is just going to heal that just from doing the wounded seeker phase. It's the really taking in the concepts and the in reflection. You know, that's the really important part, is starting to reflect and think about it and start to see it not only in yourself but in others, the world around you, the way the world works, the way the world is set up. You know, and that's why the program is set up the way it is because a lot of us, I think, especially in the conscious community, we end up finding ourselves first in the phase of the wounded alchemist before we even go through the seeker or the wounded one phase, and we just start going, oh wow, this is why, and we're blaming and we're finding all the reasons, and then we just find ourselves in anger, you know, or we find ourselves stuck and we find ourselves just constantly wanting to figure things out more but never doing anything to you know, get better. And that's where I found myself. Was I spent the first, I would say, probably 5-6 years of my healing journey. You know, I was doing yoga, I was doing the things, you know, and trying to stick to routines and stuff, but I found myself constantly just down the rabbit holes of trying to understand why things were the way they were. And it wasn't until I was like, shut that out. You know, I get it now. Let me just focus on me, my journey, and my healing. Do the steps. Do the things that I've been reading about. That's when my healing journey, you know, stepping into the wounded healer really began. Was, you know, through that and through the structure and the routine. And then I was able to start working my way back up and start to see those little things a lot more clearly, and start to gain compassion for myself, for sure.
It's beautiful. I heard something recently that everything you are taught and everything you learn, you can't unlearn. Like, it will never, the tools that you get from every aspect of your journey, the good, the bad, the light, the dark,
Exactly.
Man, nursing school was no fun, but I have taken what is a part of my purpose from that experience, and it has guided me to where I am now.
Exactly.
And I do think that it's led to this beautiful concept that because of your experiences, you're going to be able to guide others. And again, coming back around to, we are the guides to help you all understand that you can hold the wounded one within, and this journey is to help you understand that you can become your own wounded healer.
Yep.
Not only become, it's to
You
help
already
you see and acknowledge that you already are your own wounded healer. And we each have had our own guides along our journeys. And again, I said the pieces of information that stuck and that left. And it was almost about, I want to say, like, not shutting it all out, but at some point it was about realizing that the power to understand and to heal was within.
Yep.
And so how can I, like, throw gas on that fire? Like, how do I keep
Exactly.
that going? So what is the little pieces of these different practices that are really resonating, and how can I use those to help me grow into my purpose?
Definitely.
And I want to share that.
Absolutely. And that's, there you go. That's the next step, is the wounded guide. It's, you do the work, you start to analyze and understand, and then you start to share it with others. And then you start to, you become that wounded guide. And that's why that's phase 3. Phase 4, the wounded healer, is just stepping into your own uniqueness. What is the way that you are able to help people and help others? It's not going to look the same as us. You don't need to start your own coaching program. You don't need to be a teacher. Maybe your thing is herbalist. Maybe your thing is, a qigong teacher. Maybe your thing is a yoga teacher. There's so many paths on the healing journey and so many modalities of healing, that this whole journey is to help you find your uniqueness and your path, and what makes you your own wounded healer.
Yeah. What does the wounded healer look like within you? And I think, coming back around to the definition of the wounded healer, it is really being able to hold all these stages, quote unquote, of this 12-week journey, and recognizing them all as one. Can you hold the wounded one? Can you hold the wounded seeker? Can you recognize you're the wounded alchemist? Can you be the wounded guide? And can that all-encompassing help you recognize that you are your own wounded healer, and that by holding all of that, you can step into the role of guiding.
Yeah, because it's not just a 12-week program. Once you get through these 12 weeks, you're going to realize that you go through these phases every day. Sometimes all in a moment.
Yeah.
You might get angry, go to your breath work, empathize with yourself, guide yourself out of it, and then feel healed, and all in one day, and then go right back.
Yeah.
Something else can happen, and that's why these tools are so important. And finding out what tools work best for you. That's why we're providing you so much,
Right.
And resources and recommended reading, and and to use us as sources, but also don't be afraid to do your own research and ask us
Absolutely.
questions, because we're not against really any other stuff. This is just the tools that we're providing are the things that worked best for us and that we're most confident in. We're not here to tell you that this is the only way to do it.
Absolutely.
Just this is a way
Absolutely.
that worked for
And
us.
again, it's not a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 4, 5, 1, 3. It's and I love that. And we are in no way the wounded healers. We are the wounded ones. Eric says this happens all in a day. It happens for me. And the practice is recognizing the wounded one and taking those steps again, and choosing to return to yourself, choosing to dedicate yourself to yourself. And it's going to be a hell of a ride.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to see, how this works for other people, like, and how people resonate with it, how you guys resonate with it, and what type of questions you guys have, and, what works and what doesn't, and how people create their own paths. I think that's going to be so unique, is to see, the way people combine their own healing program for themselves within the, guidance of the program.
You and I are growing.
Yep.
individually, we're growing together.
Yep.
Wounded Healers Network is growing, and we want it to grow and support each other. You know, as
Absolutely.
you all come in and grow, we want to grow from your experiences. We want to learn from what's working for you and what's not. We want to take that to adapt this to be something that is inclusive, is
Exactly.
welcoming, is compassionate. I mean, we're talking about if we're going to talk about values,
Yeah.
it's holding compassion
Compassion and empathy.
and
for sure.
empathy. It's standing in your truth.
Yep.
And
And I think that's what makes it different is we're not here to tell you like have to do step 1 and then step 2 and then step 3, you know, and step 4 and this is how you become not a wounded one or whatever. It's
not a structured program, and we are not promising you that you are going to be fully enlightened and healed and never fall
No.
back and never.
No.
And it's not even a fall back down. It's to recognize you're the wounded healer is to recognize you're the wounded one. Mm-hmm. And
Exactly.
And there's no promise of
of any end goal of
Yeah,
like you
there's
said,
no-
like of enlightenment, of a kundalini awakening, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
We're not trying to tell you do these practices and you're gonna be Buddha, you know, or whatever it is, you know, or you're gonna be a
these
guru.
practices and
we're not claiming we're gurus either.
No,
We're just
do these practices and see which ones light you up, see which ones help you throughout your day. It's definitely a path of it's hard work at first, and then it becomes something that really brings you comfort, and then it becomes something you're dedicated to because it brings you comfort. And in my journey, I needed this.
absolutely.
I needed what would have guided me was the opportunity to learn to guide myself.
Exactly.
And I'm really glad that we're putting our brains together and creating a space for that. And I hope that other people can find growth and value from it too.
Me too. I mean, even just putting this together for everybody and working on this has helped me so much align myself back up with what's important to me and what I value. I find myself, daily, weekly, whatever in the moment, structuring ways that I can get myself, back centered and be that wounded healer for myself, but also what is going to allow me to be the best wounded guide and the best,
Yeah.
how can I hold space for other people? And it's been very awesome journey. This has been challenging to put together as
Yeah.
well, but also like it's been super motivating, and I'm
Yeah.
really excited to see where this goes.
Me too. Every lesson, every challenge, every experience that brought us each here and together is what created our wounded healers within ourselves. And I am very proud of your wounded one.
Same to you.
And I am proud of what's to come already.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Bada bing, bada boom.